All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. I call to order tonight's meeting of the Temecula Traffic Safety Commission at 6 o'clock, June 27th. And we'll begin with the flag salute. Commissioner Richardson, if you'll do us the honor.
Sure. Please rise, put your hand over your heart, and join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Madam Secretary, may we have the roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Ackerman, absent. Carter?
Here.
Maddox?
Here?
Richardson?
Here.
Sullivan, absent. Thank you.
All right, and staying with you, do we have any public comment on non-agendized items or agendized items later?
No public comments on non-agendized, but we have 4 on agenda number 3.
Perfect, so we will take those later in the meeting once we're on that item. I'll skip the reading of the rules for now, and we'll move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted with one roll call vote. And we have just one item, approve action minutes of May 23, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Ackerman, absent. Carter?
Aye.
Maddox?
Aye.
Richardson?
Aye.
Commissioner Sullivan, absent.
Very good. On to business items. Number 2, Madison Avenue pedestrian crossing, and we can take the staff report now, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. This presentation is in regard to a pedestrian crosswalk request on Madison Avenue. Earlier this month, staff received several complaints from nearby businesses and the San Joaquin Valley College about students crossing at random locations across Madison Avenue, right next to Sanborn over there. They're basically crossing from the San Joaquin Valley parking lot and going across to the actual campus. Staff discussed with the college their concerns, and after field review, we determined that a pedestrian crosswalk improvement should be implemented to make a safer crosswalk. As you can see there's some field photos there. There's already pedestrian ramps there directly. Like the intent was to put a crosswalk there, and I don't know why nothing was ever done, but we reviewed it. There's really low volumes, slow speeds, and we determined that implementing some continental striping, rectangular rapid flashing beacons assemblies, PED activated, we felt like that's a good solution to this problem. Now, hopefully people will kind of congregate and utilize that crossing more instead of just randomly crossing. You can see this is a preliminary plan. We're going to finalize this assuming a commission approves, and that's kind of the intent with that drawing there. And staff's recommendation for the commission is to direct staff to install the pedestrian signing, striping, and RRFBs across Madison Avenue at Sanborn Avenue.
Great. Okay, seeing as how there's no public comment on this item, we'll just open it up for questions, comments, discussion from the commission, starting on that end.
Just one question. When I visited it, it just so happened about a group of 6 people were crossing diagonally from one of the parking lots there. So is this going to be the regular size type crosswalk, or will it be larger to?
Typically we do 10 feet, but I was actually considering doing 15 feet so it really stands out so people can kind of see it. We're going to finalize that, but that was my intention with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll just say I know the RRFB at Great Oak High School, where I am almost daily, really does have that congregation effect as opposed to the random crossing. So I would just say it would be interesting to get feedback after we do this installation, if they're seeing less random crossers than previously. So.
One question on the design there. It looked like there was a bulb out kind of in both directions there, and I was curious if there had been plans to stripe a crosswalk across the other street there as well.
Yeah, probably not there. We typically don't like to do it on a kind of like a T intersection for that one. It's kind of established that there's going to be a crosswalk, so, and I think there's actual concrete there for the cross gutter, so it makes it difficult to see, so it gets washed out a lot. So we tend not to do that unless we see a real reason to do that.
Okay, yeah, and I hadn't seen, just anecdotally, very much, if any, pedestrian traffic crossing that way, so I guess that makes sense. All right, any other comments before we entertain a motion?
Just one, I did look at that and had the same initial thought about should there be another one, but am I correct that the parking lot across Sanborn there is for business, not the college? So students going to the college are all parking on the side that will have the crosswalk?
I believe that lot is actually, Ron may know, but I think that is the college parking lot.
Okay.
No, it's not owned by the college.
It's not?
It was done as a separate project, but it is being utilized by them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Apologies.
All right. Well, not hearing really any dissent, I'll go ahead and move the staff recommendation as written.
I'll second.
Commissioner Ackerman absent. Carter?
Aye.
Maddox?
Aye?
Richardson?
Aye.
Sullivan absent. Thank you.
Very good. Then on to number 3, engineering and traffic survey update, and we'll begin with the staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This presentation is on the 2024 Engineering and Traffic Survey Update. The CVC requires that local authorities review and reaffirm or adjust speed limits every 7 years on the basis of an engineering and traffic survey. The CVC also allows the extension of these surveys up to 14 years if a registered engineer determines that significant changes in roadway and traffic conditions have occurred. Significant changes would include roadway width, volumes, property, or land use changes. In this case, for this engineering and traffic survey, we did do a full survey. We didn't just reaffirm based on no changes in the roadway. So we studied 7 roadways with 24 segments. Most of these segments were nearing their 7-year update limit, so that's why we went ahead and did that. After reviewing these roadway segments, staff determined that we had about, let's see, sorry about that. Oops. We had 17 road segments that are not going to be changed. You can see them here. Speed limits came in on the 85th percentile. They were within reason, and we kept them the same. One note is El Chimisal Road. For that one, it came in at 36, but we rounded to 40 because in the county, it's at 40 miles per hour. We have a really short segment there, so it just made sense to keep that segment 40 miles per hour. And it felt, we went out there and drove it, and it felt okay at that 40. This slide shows 7 roadway segments where speed limits will be adjusted. In most cases, the speed limit will be reduced by 5 miles per hour. For Butterfield Stage Road, we are reducing it to 50 miles per hour from Rancho California to Deportola Road. This makes that whole Butterfield Road section now north of Temecula Parkway, essentially 50 miles per hour. Inez Road, we are going to be at the north city limits of Date Street. It wasn't posted since we installed a new signal over there recently at Waverly. That we did a new speed survey, and that came in at 45 miles per hour, which matches the Inez segment north of Temecula or Winchester Road. One item, and then Inez Road from Santiago to Jedediah Smith, we are going from 45 miles per hour to 40 miles per hour. And then one item that I wanted to bring up that wasn't in the report, that was an error, is we should have included Deportola Road from Jedediah Smith to Margarita Road. The intent was to change it, it just never made it to the document. That one's gonna be going from 45 to 40. It's the same logic as why we're reducing Inez. Basically, we're considering it a bike and pedestrian corridor. There's no sidewalks, so when people do walk, they have to tend to walk in the bike lane. There are bikers kind of using that heavily, and there's, residents facing that roadway with driveways. So with that, staff recommends that the Traffic Commission recommend to the City Council to adopt an ordinance reaffirming and adjusting the speed limits identified in the summary of speed limit reports. That concludes this presentation.
Great, thank you. And before we move to the public comments, are there any questions? Just questions only for now. No? Great, then let's go ahead and call up our speakers, please.
And I did want to note, just for the record, that we did
Oh.
have 2 comments that were emailed. We're no longer required to read those directly into the record per city clerk, but those have been forwarded to you guys for review.
Yes, and actually, before you call up our first speaker, I forgot to read the rules, so let me read those quickly here. Members of the public may address the commission on business items that appear on the agenda. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Public comments may be made in person at the meeting by submitting a speaker card to the commission secretary over there. Speaker cards will be called in the order received. Still images may be displayed on the projector. All other audio and visual use is prohibited. Public comments may also be submitted by email for inclusion into the record. And email comments must be received prior to the time that the item is called for public comments and submitted to Traffic Safety Commission at temeculaca.gov. All public participation is governed by council policy regarding public participation at meetings adopted by resolution number 2021-54. And now we can call up our speakers, please.
Our first speaker will be William. You could come to the podium.
Hello, my name is William Coghill. I'm a resident here in Temecula. So I wanted to start off with asking the question. So we all drive the Temecula roads. What percentage of drivers do you think exceed the speed limit from experience? How many out of 100? Just say some numbers. What are you guys thinking? Traffic, Nick, what are you thinking? What?
Let's just say 60%.
You think 60%? You guys agree somewhere around 60% might be higher or lower? Okay, now let me ask you another question. How many drivers do you think drive slower than 5 miles below the speed limit? So if it's a posted 45-mile-an-hour speed limit, how many drivers, when no cars are around them, nothing to get in the way, great weather, drive 40 miles an hour or lower? What percentage out of 100? Nick, I'd like to just, since no one else is participating, do you mind me asking you again?
Sure, 20%. I'm just
20%.
throwing numbers out.
So now I'm going to go to the extreme. 10 miles an hour below the speed limit. So 45 miles an hour, driving 35 at will, like no cars in the way. That's what they want to drive. What percentage of people are going to drive 10 miles below the speed limit? Zero. Unless it's an elderly person, the cop should pull them over and then not drive again, or they're impaired and they shouldn't be included. So based on this, so the first question was how many percentage above the speed limit? 60 was a good guess. I'd guess somewhere between 50 and 70 would be my guess. According to Wilden's study on all the roads combined, the average was 14% exceeding the speed limit. In any given road, there was only 40% was the highest they ever achieved. That's concerning. So I'm thinking in the 60 like Nick, it's 14. But now it's where it gets even more interesting. So how many drive slower than 5 miles an hour or slower? 20 was a guess. That's a pretty good guess. The report said 56. Over half of our Temecula residents, when in a clear road, would drive over 5 miles below the speed limit. That doesn't exist. I mean, I get behind someone 5 miles below, every other day or something. I mean, that just doesn't happen. 50%, it would be everywhere. Now let's go to 10 miles an hour. You know what Wilden said? What percentage on all the roads? 24 segments, the average, 23%. 23%. It's impossible to have a car drive 10 miles below the speed limit in Temecula. That is just, it's not possible. So what I wanted to tell you, and this is consistent. So this was off the actual data that was provided for this meeting. I analyzed their 2016 and 2017 report that Wilden did, and it was worse than this. Like, this is the second worst report. I was a professional traffic engineer, traffic analysis. That's what I did. I reviewed personally that went out probably 200 traffic studies, and I looked at thousands, putting together studies. This is the second worst one I've ever seen. The 2016 that I brought up to the city engineers is the worst ever. I looked at it 5 seconds. I realized there was nothing there. So this report right here, all the data that Wilden has ever produced for the city of Temecula in the last 10 years is completely incompetent, and the engineer was negligent. how this happened is they had a complete lack of practical application and knowledge. Like anybody would know, more than 14% of cars go over the speed limit. So if you go and gather the data, and everything that's recommended for our town is based off the 85th percentile. I go into the traffic department, I talked to Eric multiple times. His answer was, that's what the report said, 85th percentile speed. And I'm just telling you that this is in common. Nothing in their report can be used. That includes speed data. I looked at crash data. They didn't interpret that right back in 2016 when they switched some of the roads. So what I am letting you guys know is that this information provided by this engineering company gave us no information. Yes, I'll do a quick comment on the roads. Butterfield Stage should have never been 55. If you go around the corners, it's designed for 50. On the other road that you wanted to drop from 45 to 40, cars are already going. The 85th percentile speed, according to their study, is 48, so it's probably way higher. And you lower the speed limit, it doesn't lower what people drive. Take Great Oak, that's what they messed up on in 2016. They dropped it down to 35 miles an hour coming down the hill. You know what the 85th percentile speed there is right now? It used to be 40 miles an hour, and they said over half the cars were going 31 miles an hour. Now, the 85th percentile speed is like 47 miles an hour, even though they dropped the thing down to 35, because it's a speed trap, and according to their thing, it puts the city in. None of them are enforceable. So now, because this traffic study is completely incompetent and negligible, the CHP cannot protect our town. And since this was done over 7 years ago, same with the previous one and this one, the CHP cannot use laser gun to be able to enforce our roads now. And that's directly due to Wyndham and the review of the city. I mean, we got
I'm going to have to
two
ask you to
professional engineers.
summarize.
Okay.
Hi, thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Our next speaker would be Lewis.
Commissioners, my name's Louis Todd. My wife and I moved to Temecula in 1986 before the city was incorporated. We live on De Portola Road, and we've spoken to you before about our concerns with regard to entering and leaving our property from our home along De Portola, where the speed limit currently is 45, and wasn't included in the recommendations for reduction until we hear tonight. And so we're very pleased to see that, and we're pleased with the work that the city has done so far. The safety of our neighborhood is still in peril with even a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit, and we understand that things have to move in segments. I was really interested to see tonight in the presentation that you guys proposed a crosswalk, and the report was only a month ago. We've been working on this for more than a year, and this is our lives at stake, entering and leaving our properties every single day. We understand that we're a residential neighborhood, but we don't qualify for the standard residential neighborhood because our properties are a little bit larger than what the state standards dictate for a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. There has to be some common sense that gets applied in looking at our neighborhood in particular. We're an equestrian area as well, and a lot of the bike lanes that are through our neighborhood are used by equestrian folks as well. So now we're sharing the bike lane with a speed that's 45 miles an hour, proposed to go to 40. So we're sharing that with horses, bicycles, and pedestrian. We would really, really like you guys to keep that in mind as you're making your decision and your recommendations. Please recommend to reduce the speed limit in addition to Inez, as well as on De Portola. As a board member for the Los Ranchitos Homeowners Association, I would like to extend my thank you for, again, working with our Homeowners Association and listening to our concerns and complaints. I understand this is the first phase. We're not going to go away, and we're not going to stop asking for your help because we don't believe that it's still safe. And listening to the previous speaker and his knowledge about how people obey the speed limits, it raises question, again, that will we actually see the speed slow down in front of our properties? We recognize that there's a tremendous amount of cut-through traffic in our neighborhood compared to the people that live there, right? There's about 75 driveways along that area, and yet we've got in excess on DePortola of 20,000 vehicles cutting through our neighborhood, you know, every day, I'm assuming. And part of your guidelines in how you're developing, you know, the road movements of traffic is to not create cut-through traffic. And so what I would ask you guys to do is take a look at how you're directing traffic into our neighborhood off of Temecula Parkway. And with the proposed future roundabout at Jedediah Smith, you know, our concern would be now we have continuous traffic, no breaks in the traffic whatsoever. And so for us to enter or exit our driveways, it's a genuine concern on our part as homeowners. I shared with you, we have multiple generations living on our property with our granddaughter who just turned 2, and she's mobile, right? So we have a gate that keeps her from getting down towards the roadway because it is dangerous. But I will say, every week when I take my trash cans out, I'm putting my life in my own hands by delivering my trash can to the edge of the road. Last week, I was heading eastbound on DePortola, and I met 3 vehicles side by side by side, one in the regular lane, one in the turn lane, and one in my lane, all coming in the same direction. I would encourage us to put signage up that says no passing. I would encourage you to put signage up that says no big trucks. We've got semi-trucks running through our neighborhood on a regular basis. And so, again, we thank you for the work that's been done. We look forward to the City Council approving this recommendation if you move it forward. And we look forward to working with you in the next steps in helping protect our neighbors. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Lee.
Good evening. My name is Lee Rosu. I live on DePortola on the section that was marked in red there tonight. I came actually prepared today to come and speak with you about that section that supposedly was going to be left at 45, so no comments on that. I do want to take this opportunity to thank you. I'm looking at Nick and Ron because I directly work with them, but I assume there is a big city team behind that. So I wanted to express my gratitude for listening to us and working with us to make our street safer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ernie.
Whoa, tall people. Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for the time. My name's Ernie Castro. I'm with Bike Temecula Valley, and I wanted to express BTV's support for the reduction of speed limits proposed on Butterfield Stage and Inez Road. And to follow on with your comments, if you want to life-threatening, try riding your bike down Inez or to DePortola. I think it needs more than just a lower speed limit. There needs to be traffic calming or a better bike lane in that area. BTV has consistently supported lower speed limits to increase safety on Temecula's roads, especially on streets with bike lanes and infrastructure for pedestrians, autos, and bicycles. Research shows that people will use active transportation when they feel safe doing so. Reducing speed limits in conjunction with safe infrastructure and design will encourage people to walk or ride bikes in the area, which will reduce traffic congestion in that area. Both Butterfield Stage and Inez have those have active transportation areas. Research also consistently shows that lower speed limits reduce the likelihood and severity of accidents. When a vehicle travels at a lower speed, the driver has more time to react to unexpected situations. Moreover, lower speed limits don't just protect pedestrians and cyclists, they also benefit drivers and passengers. At reduced speeds, vehicle requires shorter stopping distances, making it easier to avoid collisions. For instance, after lowering speed limits in certain zones, New York City saw a 22% reduction in traffic fatalities over 4 years. Critics might argue that reduced speed limits can lead to longer travel times. However, studies have shown that the actual increase in travel isn't often minimal, especially in urban settings where traffic signals and congestion already dictate the flow of traffic. The slight increase in travel time is a small price to pay for the significant gains in safety and quality of life. So I agree with this gentleman that I'm not sure the speed limits will reduce things significantly, but I think maybe we need to look at other traffic calming on those two corridors. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Our last speaker is Eric.
Thank you, Council Peoples. I appreciate the time. My name is Eric McKillican. I'm coming as a concerned resident. I live in Los Ranchitos neighborhood, actually neighbors with these other two gentlemen, just down the road. Just two experiences. Well, first of all, thank you very much for including my section of the road, our section of the road. I was coming down to talk about that, but no need because it's been included, so thank you. But I just wanted to give you a couple of experiences. I'm an equestrian, my wife is an equestrian. We have horses on our property, and we utilize the trails behind, but we have to cross the roads. And in one of the sections, we have to ride along the road as well. Crossing the roads is very difficult, even with the crossing guards, the yield signs. They're very close, and the cars don't have enough time to really stop once the horses appear out of the bushes, so to say. To go along the road is a very dangerous, very, very scary experience. We won't allow our novice or beginner riders to go on that trail. We will divert and go completely through the neighborhoods to avoid being on the road because it is so dangerous. Cars go whizzing by, they honk their horns, they yell at horses, they think it's cute. But in actuality, a younger horse can get into trouble and kill the rider. So two things that I'd like to just share with you that we experience on a regular basis. And one is we have a horse trailer drawn by a big truck, and trying to enter and exit our property is challenging, to say the least. Not only do they not want to slow down, but when we forcibly go into the lane, blocking them, they honk their horns, they yell, they scream, and it's it's our home, so it's not pleasant, it's not fun, and driving the trailer in and out of there is kind of like a flasher, a mile back, slowing down a mile back, getting them aware that we're not, going to be going through, we're going to be making a turn. So it's pretty scary. So, and the last thing that I want to, about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, we had an accident on our property. Truck, mid-sized truck, came through in a high rate of speed, took out our gate, a big solid metal gate, took out a concrete pillar that held our mailbox, took out 40 feet of fence line, solid fence line. That was wood and concrete construction. You don't do that at 35 miles an hour. And I mean, wiped it clean. Not a bit of that was left standing. It was at 10 o'clock in the morning. There was no alcohol involved. It was the time when myself or my mother-in-law might be out in our orchard pruning things, picking things, and that's what they took out. So I just wanted to give you guys that knowledge. Everything that my neighbors put forth here, I would like to support and concur with. And I just thank you guys for your work and working with you guys as much as we can. So appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, and that was it for public comments?
Yes, that was all.
Okay, before we go on to commission discussion and comments, I just want to thank everyone who spent their evening with us tonight, came out and spoke. I know there's other, let's say, high-profile political programming you all could be watching tonight, but you're here with us for this small-town commission meeting, and we really pay attention to your input and appreciate that. So with that, any other comments or discussion?
Sure. I also want to thank everybody who spoke tonight and took the time to come out. It's always difficult to sit up here and hear the things that aren't perfect in our community, especially with traffic. And I do commend staff on doing all they can do within the rules that are set by the state. So our hands are tied, and on some things, to the 85th percentile. I will say, when I looked at the report initially, I was happy to see for the second time in a row, it's all reductions. And I think that's a testament to the work we've been doing, doing things smarter with, painting the lines close together does have the psychological effect, and we are seeing the result that at the next survey, speeds are reduced. And I do expect that when these come around again next time, we may see further reductions. So a step in the right direction is better than leaving them where they were, and I think we need to appreciate that. As for the concern that perhaps the survey may, contain, may not reflect truth, I would ask staff to consider perhaps next time around getting 2 surveys and see what their agreement is. I think that would be a wise thing to do, to just know where we stand. Do we have agreement, or do we have wide disagreement in surveys? I know others offer the same service. I'd ask you to think about that as an option. So that's really all I had on the topic. I do think it's progress, and I do also think that once the freeway improvements are done, I think that I and staff hope to see a reduction in cut-through traffic throughout the city, including the troubled section of De Portola, because staying on the freeway, it will be quicker once traffic on the freeway is moving. So I think we need to see what the impact of that is as well. So we're not just looking at one road, it's a total flow master plan for the entire city that is still in work, and is a change over there can have a positive effect over here. So I think that's still playing out as well.
I'll just note something. There was a little bit of a theme through the comments that I noticed, and something that Commissioner Carter has said before is that just changing the number on the sign is not a panacea, right? It has to be done in conjunction with traffic calming, and so that's why there's a little bit of a push and pull here, and why it takes some time, an uncomfortable amount of time sometimes, to get that speed limit all the way down to where we'd like. But we really are pushing it to, as much as we can within the state guidelines here, beyond the MUTCD option 2 and into special conditions to get it down to 40. And I know we still have work to do on the traffic calming to really make sure that it is safe to put, mid-block crosswalk there. We wouldn't want to just put in a crosswalk without it being really a safe place to cross. And so we have to do that in conjunction with some of the other traffic calming measures that have been mentioned at past meetings that we looked at, to really bring those speeds down at the same time that we're implementing this calming. So I think it's a step in the right direction, but certainly we hear you loud and clear that there's more work to be done on this. All right. Hearing consensus on this, I would entertain a motion.
Sure. I'll move that we advance this for City Council consideration as presented with the amendment you added this evening.
I'll second.
Right, Commissioner Ackerman absent. Carter?
Aye.
Maddox?
Aye.
Richardson?
Aye.
Sullivan absent. Thank you.
Okay. We will move on to division reports and California Highway Patrol. Welcome.
Good evening, and thanks for having me again. So, as far as services provided, the usual statistics I provide. My public information officer was out of town. He was on vacation all month, so I don't have that. However, we were part of the Balloon and Wine Festival, not just with traffic control, but also with a booth inside of the Balloon and Wine Festival. One of the things that we did that I thought was really good was actually an idea stolen from Arizona DPS, where they were taking the PAS devices and allowing people to blow into it. I know my time on the Highway Patrol, the number of people I arrested for DUI that really thought they were okay, and they weren't, was quite high. So it's an educational tool for them. And we also had a copy with a cop event on May 24th. For enforcement activity, 1,043 citations issued, 305 verbal warnings, a total of 1,629 enforcement contacts. For next month, I'll be talking about a special enforcement detail that we did in French Valley. Again, that's an area that about every 3 months that we've been going out and targeting with the help of San Gorgonio Pass and Indio CHP. We did have one on the 15 freeway on May 23rd. We had 73 citations written in the period of about 4 hours just from our detail alone. And we also, I'll be talking about it next meeting, we also did a detail on Ortega Highway where we had an airplane up watching for motorcycles passing over the solid double yellow lines. With the improvements on Ortega Highway, the motorcycles are out and enjoying the road improvements, so we're there to help make sure they do it safely. And then also 4th of July MEP coming up, so we're going to be going out there in full force over 4th of July next weekend. For our DUIs, 64 DUI arrests, and out of that, only 13 were crashes. So again, really doing well with the officers and keeping it down. Less than 25% of our DUI arrests are crashes, so very happy with that. Traffic collisions, we're up a little bit, 103 non-injury, 85 injury, which was an increase. We had 2 fatalities. At the time of the report, we had 6 fatalities year to date, and a total of 190 collisions. So we're mostly looking at what the increase in injury collisions was and what we can do about that. And as far as our fatalities, one was on SR 74 at Betty, and that was a vehicle versus motorcycle. And then we had a solo vehicle southbound I-15 south of Lemon, which is a solo vehicle overturned. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you. No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then we have the director's report.
So a couple of projects. We have the Butterfield Stage Road rehab that's going from Temecula Creek to the city limits towards Morgan Hill. So that's starting this next month. And then we also have Pechanga Parkway starting next month as well. And that's coinciding with an RCWD project. So Pechanga is going to be quite impacted. Everybody's trying to get their work done before school starts. And so that one will also be going in July, and be aware that one of the signals will be on flash. So that'll be happening then. And that's all I have for you tonight. Oh, wait a minute. No, I do want to mention one more thing. Pat is retiring, as you know. We had hoped to do the public recognition on July 9th. He can't make that meeting. So he's going to be here July 23rd at City Council, and that'll be the night that he's publicly recognized.
Very good. Won't miss it. All right. And then commissioner reports.
Yeah, just to clarify on the Butterfield stage, will this include the widening of the single lane northbound by the feed store where?
No, that's a separate project. That's tied to the Paseo del Sol development project. So that's going to be probably at least a couple years from now, a year maybe or so, because before that happens, that storm drain needs to be put in, that 10-foot diameter storm drain that's got to go all the way to Temecula Creek.
Yeah.
So that's a ways out. It'll be after that project is complete, and then it'll all be redone, be widened, and be good to go.
So I had talked to Commissioner Hagel from Planning, who said the housing development is going in on the large vacant lot at Butterfield and Temecula Parkway. And I know we've been clamoring to get that lane extension just a couple hundred feet done, and would really like to see the developer do that as part of that housing project. I know it's odd because it's on the other side. That's county, I think, on that side of the center line.
Yeah, that is part of their project, and they're conditioned to. It's just it won't start for a while because they're really not conditioned to do it till the first building permit, which is projected to be August of 26, because they have a bunch of infrastructure to do interior before they can get out there.
All right.
I know.
The sooner the better. I do come that way, coming home from Great Oak daily, and see that left turn does get bottlenecked into the intersection there during the 5 to 6 p.m. hour.
Yeah,
so
frustrating, but it's coming.
Frustrating. Okay,
Yeah.
Fair enough. The other thing was I did report to staff by email of a single vehicle roadway departure on Butterfield behind my home, and took out a 55-mile-per-hour speed limit sign, which you guys replaced almost immediately. So appreciate the response and going out and having a look at that next day. So appreciate that.
Thank you.
Gonna have to replace that sign again pretty soon. with a 50
You
mile.
replaced a sign, you're going to have to replace.
That's right. All right, anything additional? Okay, in that case, next meeting will be held on Thursday, July 25th, right here in City Hall, 6 PM. Until then, we are adjourned.